Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Personal PR Show. And today we are here with our resident guest, Renaissance human, Bruce Cryer, and Martina, of course, Biz Bestie, very well known in this community. But Bruce is very well known in this community as well, because as I said, he's our resident guest. We talk about everything with Bruce, and today we're going to talk about creativity because Bruce is very well known and established when it comes to creativity. He's actually just launched a whole course about creativity. Isn't that crazy? Bruce, tell us about it.
Wow, yes. Creativity is my big love affair. You guys both know a little bit of the story. So I was an actor, singer, dancer when I was young, Broadway, New York City, all that. Fantastic. Lovely career, left it to explore health and spirituality and personal growth, and got into businesses around all that for 40 years, and then got really sick for a couple of years. And in the healing that emerged after, fortunately, I got through everything fine eventually. This urge to create again became very strong. And I had this very strong impulse that came while singing Christmas carols with 2,000 strangers in a theater in Washington, D.C., with an orchestra on stage. A very strong impulse after that experience of singing Christmas carols with 2,000 total strangers that I needed to sing again. And my voice needed to be heard in public again. A voice told me this, not my voice. And so that began a process back in 2012 where I gradually embraced the fact that I was a fully creative human being, as all people are, in my opinion. I just had a few creative talents that I had let be dormant for a number of years. So in 2012, I started singing again. I discovered that even though I had 2 titanium hips, I could actually dance again if I would get myself back in shape and stretch and get limber and all that. And I found that my desire to do art and photography and be on stage had come back kind of in full force. And as the expression goes, once the genie is out of the bottle, you can't put it back. And I could not put it back, and I don't want to put it back. And what eventually emerged after performing more and more, and instead of doing keynote talks as I've been doing for 20 years, now I was doing keynote performances that involve live music, not just a talk. And so that became so much more fun that I could deliver all this interesting content and then do a song about it, or then get the audience singing about it. And it was just a whole transformative thing. So this energy to create, which I had fully embraced and said, I am a creative person. I've got to express these parts of myself, not necessarily just to make a living or make income, but because of who I am. And again, my view is that we are all creative beings. We are all born with the power to create life. That urge to create life is the same urge, in my opinion, that wants us to create anything: a business, a great relationship, love, success, coherence with others in communities or social groups, whatever. So the spirit to create is what I'm all about. And I got the privilege of Stanford, where I've been teaching for 25 years. Stanford asked me to create a course on creativity for well-being. That was back in 2017. And that's been iterated several times. And now the latest one that you just referred to is now called Creativize Your Life. Creativize Your Life. Yes, it's a word. I did not invent the word, although when I heard it, I thought, I've never heard this before, but it's such a cool word. Creativize. Doesn't it completely express what you know what it means? Creativize, bring creativity into not just art or dance or writing, but bring the energy of creativity into everything that you do in life. That's my opinion. So I'm sticking to it.
Yes. So Bruce, what would be 3 steps to creativize our lives? Maybe the 3 main steps. What can we do?
Well, I've created this model. It's actually got 5, but I call them 5 catalysts because, and I use the word very intentionally. In chemistry, a catalyst is an element you add to another mixture, and it turns into something completely new. So a catalyst changes whatever it's being introduced to. It's not just adding to it, it's changing it. And so what I discovered in my journey after cancer, after double hip replacement, after staph infections, that to get back into my creativity, there were certain things that I just gravitated towards doing. One of the most primary was just learning to really be present, to find presence in myself, to be quiet enough that I can hear the impulses that want to be creative. Most of us have this, and people come to my courses or want to get mentored because they've felt these promptings, but they don't pay attention to it. Or, you know, that for 10 years they've been wanting to go back to the painting class and haven't done anything. Or they, thanks to COVID, they really know they need to dance, but they're still not dancing. You know, so a lot of times we have these feelings that we don't pay attention to, and we're not present enough to pay attention to it. The second catalyst I call movement, and movement is quite simple. Again, COVID, most of us were in this shape for 3 years. We were sitting in front of screens. And that is not the shape of flow. It's the shape of restriction. And so when we're not moving, when we're kind of stagnating physically, which so many of us have done for some years now, good luck having a creative flow, because the energy is kind of stuck in you. And I've learned so many times, just get the frick out of your chair and walk around, walk outside. And that frees up the mind, frees up the body, frees up the creative energy. So in the way I look at it, of course, I do more than just walk. I actually get people moving and dancing and doing silly things, because the freeing up of one's energy can be a catalyst to awaken a creative spark, a creative juice. The third one is nature. And when I was in treatments for cancer and then in treatments for staph infections, I had a lot of time I had to be hooked up to things, or I was waiting for a procedure or coming down after a procedure. And I had a lot of time to kind of sit outside and appreciate. I was living in the Bay Area at the time, and appreciating nature. And what I began to recognize was that nature is not just pretty. It's not just sunshine in my face. And yes, it was all that. It was not just fresh air. And yes, it's all that. But it's also a field that I can tap into for life, to give me more life. And what I also found was, the more I am just kind of absorbing and being grateful for this remarkable gift that we even have, nature, the more I'm grateful for it, the more my own creative spark would kind of awaken. I would look at a mountainside and think, wow, that is so amazing. I got to take a picture of that, the way the fog's coming down over the tree or whatever. So nature being in itself a catalyst. And again, many of us, we stay indoors so much because we're so busy on Zoom or on doing our work, and we're not doing that outside enough. And yet we're missing that energetic field that nature provides that can lift our spirits and spark creativity. And then the other two, 4 and 5, playfulness. The energy of playfulness is itself a catalyst. If you just, I love to see adults who love to think that they're not kids anymore, and they're not childish and anything. And then that you see them near small children who are playing, you know, completely absorbed in their little fantasy world with the Legos or the Barbies or whatever they're doing. And the adult melts into that vibe, and they start talking in ways they don't normally talk, right? They start using words and a tone of voice that's, where did that come from? Well, it's always been in them. That childlike spirit's always been in them, but they tell themselves, well, I'm an adult now, I'm an executive now, I'm an entrepreneur now, I'm a networker now, I'm whatever the label is that keeps us from expressing the fullness of who we are. And in my experience, just being playful when we could otherwise be heavy or serious or analytical or whatever, just the energy of playfulness itself is a catalyst that can get us into being creative. I have said, not inappropriate in a weird way, but kind of questionable comments in meetings many a time, and that were clearly playful, like, dude, you really just said that. I said, yeah, we need to lift our energy here. It's very easy to get heavy about this problem right now. And where's the creativity there? Creativity is turned to lead. But if we can lighten the spirit and just be a little bit playful and just, I mean, one time in my years at the helm of CEO of HeartMath, we had 1 month. We were very open about our business with all of our staff, and we told a lot about what was happening in sales, where the expenses were. And this 1 month was just like the worst month we had had in years. And I was the CEO, and I thought, okay, this is gonna be an interesting meeting because this could freak out a lot of people. And I said, and the first slide came up, and I kind of warned them. I said, these are not great results at all. And I mean, like, really bad. I let them know that. The first slide came up. I said, so there we are. There's going to be more of these. We now have a choice. We can either go the left-hand route and feel very worried and very freaked out about, because this is not the only slide that's going to have bad news. There's a bunch of them. Or we can just be lighthearted and we can laugh about it. Like just how bad this month really was. It was also a short month, February, so it made it even slightly worse. And so the first slide came up and everybody was sitting there. I said, okay, what are you picking? Heaviness or laughter? And a few people started laughing. I said, great, let's go with the laughter. And then the next slide came up and they looked at it. I said, okay, choice again. They started laughing. And then the laughter started to become a little bit infectious. So then another slide came up and there was immediate huge laughter as soon as the slide came. And all of it was like, we were seriously in the red that month. There was not a single slide that was positive. And at the end of the meeting, we had laughed and laughed and laughed and laughed so hard because it had become this infectious thing. And there was a sense of bonding, like, this is crazy, we got to turn it around. And thank you for allowing us to experience the funnest meeting we've ever had on a month that was the worst results we'd ever had. So that was spontaneous. I didn't plan that. I was like, 15 years from now, I'm going to need to know this thing called playfulness. So, well, let's try it now. No, it just spontaneously came out. Like, what do I want as a leader? I want people to be feeling positive in spite of what's just the month we've had. And the next month was better and everything worked out fine. We're great. The HeartMath's doing great 30 years later. But that was a big deal for me to recognize how playfulness can shift our energy, because sometimes the creative block is simply where our energy is stuck. It's not where we're down. We're telling ourselves, I'm not creative. I can't, reminding ourselves, I can't come up with new ideas. Whereas just being playful, just the energy of being playful, just like you see me kind of jumping around like I am right now, that energy frees things up, right? And then the last thing is artistic expression, the last catalyst. And what I learned too was that as I was kind of tiptoeing back into the creative waters again, anytime I would try something new, write something that I hadn't written that way before, or try a new dance form, or try a new music form, or when I was asked to write an album of original songs and I never even wanted to write a song, let alone actually did it. And that was a big, huge creative challenge, but it opened certain floodgates of, you can do that, dude. You can. Are you trying to be a Grammy winner? No. But are you happy with the songs? Yes. Very proud. So like you did it. So artistic expression, just trying things new, whether they ever are public or not, opens the floodgates and creates circuitry and enables the brain to be more adaptable, be more flexible, so you can be creative when you need it. So those are the 5. That's way more than you asked me for, but you're stuck with that, Jessica.
Well, I asked for 3 and we got 5. We were lucky. Wow, that's so generous. Thank you, Bruce. Wow. Yes. And while you were explaining a couple of the items, I was thinking about the nervous system, and I was looking at Martina, and she was smiling and she was nodding. So I was like, okay, so this is probably on brand for the nervous system as well. Right, Martina?
For sure. For sure. There's a component in the for nervous system regulation, all the catalysts that Bruce was describing so beautifully. And it was really amazing to see what those 5 pieces are, because and I also relate with getting out of adulting and getting back to being playful, and that can be a huge journey for some people, but it's definitely helping to unleash creativity, for sure.
Yeah. Well, and thanks for bringing it back up to nervous system regulation, because to me, part of what I emphasize with folks around creativity is that part of the attraction, why we're intuitively or even unconsciously drawn to being more creative, is we know how good we feel when we're doing whatever that creative thing is. When we're singing, even if nobody likes it, but we know how we feel. If we could measure ourselves before we did the singing and during, you'd see a big shift in the nervous system, right? You see the autonomic nervous system balancing out, the sympathetic and parasympathetic coming into harmony. All that happens because we're enjoying whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's singing, even if nobody else likes it, it doesn't matter. I miss weeding gardens. I don't live in a place where there's a garden to weed, or even a garden to plant. And I haven't had a place that I can really get myself down and dirty into the weeds and pull all the weeds out so that the flowers and the vegetables can grow. But I love that. There's something that's so grounding and releasing about just moments like that. So these things help us feel good. The creative impulse is especially a desire to feel good. And we know that there's certain things that we have done and certain things we might learn how to do that help us feel good. So it's by definition, it's helping to regulate your nervous system.
Oh my God. Oh my God, Bruce, this has been so good as usual. This is the third or fourth time we have you here on the Personal PR Show as our resident guest. I can't wait for next month. What are we going to talk about next month?
That's a great question. I think we need to spend a session discussing what a resident guest actually is. It's kind of a contradiction, but a resident guest, like, well, am I a resident or am I a guest? So I'm both. So I appreciate that. I'm the permanent guest, or whatever. We'll figure out something. We'll figure out something fun to talk about for sure.
Certain, right? Absolutely. We can talk about with you for years and years and years. There will always be a new topic, right? That's why Martina always wants to be at every single interview that we have with you here on the Personal PR Show.
There's always so much to learn, and absorb, and a perspective shift. And this is good. So we can spend like every session in one of the catalysts because there's so much to talk about. So
that's true. We could, which is what I'm doing in this course right now. Each week is one of the catalysts, and exploring it in multiple modes. I'll get them dancing and meditating tomorrow. There's an exercise I do that lasts about 15 minutes. I lead them into a deep meditation to really experience presence and mindfulness and heart. And then it's quiet for a while completely. And then I bring in some new music and get them to explore the idea that creativity is coming alive in their body for the first time, as like a force inside their body. As you can see, I like to do all that stuff. And they begin to move and they're not looking at anybody else, and their cameras are turned off. This is Zoom, right? So they can just have the experience of moving and feeling the creative energy kind of course through their body. And the experience, and there's a great soundtrack also that you kind of want to move because of the soundtrack. So people have this marvelous experience of depth, of presence, and quietness and stillness. Then how movement could merge out of that. And people are extremely energized, refreshed. It's a wonderful practice. It's super fun. So I'll do that with my gang tomorrow.
Yes, tell us about it, please. Yes. This is one of the things that we need to talk about in the next episodes with you here on the Personal PR Show. Thank you so much again for joining us today, Bruce. I'll see you soon, of course. Yeah, and thank you, Martina, for co-moderating.
Thank you for having me. And thanks, Bruce, for your time. It was really cool.
My pleasure. Great to see you both.
Yeah, good to see you too. I'll see you very soon anyway, Bruce. Martina in 2 seconds anyway. Voice notes from day long, right? Lots of love to you. Thank you so much again.
Yeah, guys.
Hi, guys. We'll see you soon for another episode of the Personal PR Show, which is going to be in about 10 seconds.
Whoa, okay. Awesome. Take care.
Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.